Hello everyone, this is just a quick demo of how to complete this Design and Software Skills Photoshop lasso layers and cloning project. So in order to do this, the first step, if we look in here, we're going to open up the directions. The first step is to acquire the image, and then the second step is to open up Photoshop. So in order to acquire the image, we're going to click on the JPEG image right there. I'm going to click on these three dots in the upper right hand corner of my screen and click open in new window. Now that I've opened this image, I want to download it. So I'll hit this download button that's right up here. Click download, and if you're using Google Chrome, it'll automatically download to your downloads folder, and that's where we're going to want to pull it from in Photoshop. So I already have Photoshop loaded up. In order to open a Photoshop, you go to the Start menu, All Programs, Adobe CC Suite, Adobe Photoshop. It should open up right here. I go to File, Open, find that pigeon, so it's in my Downloads folder. So I click on the Downloads folder. I want to find that pigeon that I downloaded. I've downloaded it a couple times at this point. Downloaded right there, open, and there we go. We got it opened. Okay, next step, let's go to our directions here. So I'm going to go back to my directions. Step 1 was acquire the image. Step 2, open Photoshop. Step 3 is zoom in. Okay, so I'm going to hold down the Control key, which is right below the Shift key. It says CTRL on it. Hold down the Control key and then the plus key. The plus key is right next to the backspace key. It's plus and equals. Plus, 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 plus. Control plus, Control plus. That's what I'm holding down. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to drag down. Drag over. Now I think I may have zoomed in a little bit too much, so I'm going to hit Control minus. Minus is right next to the plus, and I'm just going to find a pigeon. Okay, this pigeon looks pretty good right there. So I want to copy this pigeon. So in order to copy this pigeon, I want to use the lasso tool. So over here, I find that lasso tool, and I'm just going to kind of click and drag around this pigeon right here. So I'm clicking and dragging. Alright, this looks good. I'm going to allow that kind of space to stay in there. We can clean this pigeon up a little bit later. So I got that. Now with the lasso tool, as soon as I unclick the mouse, you notice that it automatically selects the pigeon. That looks perfect. So my pigeon is selected, and it says in here, select the shape. That's what we just did. So our shape is selected. Now we want to copy and paste. Okay, so we're actually gonna copy this. So I can go Edit, Copy, or Control C, either one. Copy, and now I'm gonna create a new layer. Okay, so to create a new layer, I just hit the new layer button. It's right next to the trash can. It's right there. If you don't have your layers menu open, like if you're looking over here and you're like, I don't really see anything over here, there's two ways to fix this. Number one, we can go to Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials, and that'll bring back everything to how it should be. We could also go to Window, Layers, and that'll kind of bring and pop up the layers menu. And then I click on this new layer right there, and I create a new layer. So now that I have a new layer, layer 1, I click on that layer 1, and then I go Edit, Paste. And I'm going to want to paste it, or Control V, either one. Now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on the Move tool, and I can move, and I've copied this image, and I can go ahead and move it around. I'm going to hit Control minus 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 on my keyboard, kind of scroll up a little bit, and I'm going to move this pigeon that I just copied to right there. Hit Control plus plus plus, kind of scroll up a little bit, okay, scroll over, and now that I've moved this pigeon kind of on top of her head, I need to scale this a little bit. So in order to scale, I hit Control T on my keyboard. Control T on my keyboard, and that's going to kind of bring these up. T stands for transform. And then I want to do a uniform scale. So in order to do a uniform scale, I hold down the Shift key on my keyboard, and then I click the left mouse button, and I just kind of drag this down. Alright, that looks good. Maybe I'll move it to like right there. Holding down Shift, clicking in the corner. Let's move this. This looks perfect, so I want to apply this transformation. So in order to apply the transformation, I click on the Move tool right there, and then I hit Apply Transform. Okay, so now I have this new pigeon right there on top of her head. That's perfect. So now I want to delete this pigeon that's in the background. So I need to switch to my background layer. So I'm going to uncheck the eye on layer 1, and I'm going to click on the background layer. Okay, then I am going to use the clone stamp tool right here. Clone stamp tool. Okay, now if I just try to use the clone stamp tool right off the bat, it's going to give me an error. That's because it says, could not use a clone stamp tool because the area to clone has not been defined. So what we want to do is we want to clone this area that's over here and move it so it's over here. So basically we'll take this ground area, what's over there, and move it on top of there. That'll make it look like this pigeon doesn't exist. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key on the keyboard. That's right next to it goes Control Windows key, Alt key on the bottom left of your keyboard. I hold down that Alt key, and then I kind of get this crosshairs. I want to click in this area that's over here. Click. Now when I come back over here, you notice I'm just pulling this area. Now your brush might be like really big. Okay, we don't want to have a big brush. Your hardness also might be way down. If we do that, notice if the hardness is way down, it just kind of gives a shadow. We want to bring hardness all the way up, and we want the size of our brush to be about 20. Okay, and I'll just kind of click, and you notice when I'm clicking, see the crosshairs, so it's pulling what is over in that area, it's pulling over this pigeon. So I'm just kind of able to get this. Now it looks like I got a little bit of her hair right there, so that's not good. So I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to bring this area over here, kind of into this area. Now her hair looks a little bit messed up right now. See how there's like that red area? So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm just going to grab an area of her hair like right there. And I'm just going to kind of, let's try to smooth out that red area right there. So that looks a little bit better. Okay, so rounded out her head. Now I'm going to go ahead and click back on the Move tool. And then you can see I got this pigeon right there. So that pigeon looks pretty good, except Control Plus. You notice this area right in there, that doesn't look that good. So in order to get rid of this area in here, I'm going to use what's called the Magic Wand tool. So I click and hold, it's right below the Lasso tool. I click and hold on the Magic Wand tool. And then my tolerance, your tolerance might be really high. If your tolerance is really high, it's going to like select everything. Okay, that's not what we want. So I want to make sure that I'm on layer 1. I'm going to lower my tolerance down to like 15, and then I'm just going to kind of click in this area right there. Okay, now I want to hit the delete key. The delete key is right below the insert key on your keyboard. I hit that delete key to kind of delete this gray area. And I'm just going to select this different gray area right there, and maybe I'll like select that area right there. That might be a little bit too much. I want to undo that, so I hit Control Z to undo. And let's say I don't want that area selected anymore. I can just click on my rectangle marquee tool. Click right there. Alright, so this actually looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to zoom out, Control minus minus minus. I want to merge both of these layers together. So in order to merge the layers, I right click on the background layer, and I click on the merge flatten image, which will just kind of merge everything, or merge visible. Okay, it merged that layer 1 into the background, so now I can kind of, what I want to do is I want to brighten this up, so now I can kind of brighten up the whole photograph, not just one layer. In order to brighten this up, I go to Image, Adjustment, Curves, and I got this curve right here. I'm just going to go ahead and bring this up. You notice it brightens it up. That looks perfect to me. So I click OK. Now I go File, Save As. I want to save this thing as a Photoshop file, so make sure the Save Type As, make sure you change it to PSD file. I'll save this as, I don't know, pigeon.psd. Okay, make sure it's a Photoshop file, and make sure that I'm going to save it in my U drive. Okay, make sure that you're saving this in your U drive, maybe pigeon1.psd. So I click on my U drive, hit Save. Now that I've saved this and it's done, I want to upload this to the Google Classroom. So in order to upload this to the Google Classroom, we would just go to, I'll just go to a class that I'm part of. Okay, let's say that this was the assignment. So I'd open up the assignment, add file, find the file, select from your computer, find that .psd file, open, hit upload. It'll upload the Photoshop file to this Google Classroom assignment. And then you just hit the, as soon as it's uploaded, we hit the turn in button and you are done. Okay, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.